Hi, I'm Max, and today I'm joined by Bubbycraft.
Hi everybody, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. And today we're going to be updating the Polar Express. And before we start, please be sure that you like and subscribe. And you can follow me on Patreon for the schematic download.
And if you'd like a copy of this map, you're more than welcome to follow me on Patreon and download a copy of that as well.
Okay, I will let Bobby take over from here to start build the locomotive. Good luck!
Awesome, thank you. Okay, let's get to building. So what we're going to start with is we're going to place our train station into train assembly mode. And we're going to start by placing down our bogies. In this particular, we will be using the extended bogies mod, and the link for that will be in the description below. To start, we want to grab a single axle, and we're going to go with the medium single wheel. We're going to place that just like so. The next thing that we're going to want to do is what I usually like to do when I'm building a locomotive is I eyeball where the next wheel is going to go. But what we're looking for is in the bogie menu, we want to scroll down to quadruple axles, and we're going to choose the long 080 driver. And we'll test it here to see if this is going to work. With an open hand, make sure that it's an open hand. We're going to right click the green rail to make the wheels bigger, and then right click the bogie itself to turn the wheels around. And what that's going to do is, as you can see here on the finished model, it's going to allow the piston house to go to the exact spot where we want to go, and then we're just going to end up making it a little bit bigger. Perfect. We want to place down one more set of wheels, and we're going to just bring those back just a little ways to right about here. We're going to go into our bogie menu and choose the double axle category and come down to the medium 404 trailing and place that down. Now, to count out the spaces, what I'm going to do here is from the first bogie, I'm going to place down chiseled deep slate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the second bogie, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the last bogie. So we have 6 spaces in between the first and second, and then 7 spaces in between the second and third bogie. Perfect. Moving on from here, we're going to place another layer of chiseled deep slate on top. And you might notice that I'm not placing directly on top of bogies or anything. Unfortunately, with the extended bogies mod, you have to crouch and right click to place a block directly on top of or onto a bogie itself. All right, our next step that we're going to do is we're going to be adding a layer of the gray local metal smoke box from about the third bogie back. So we're going to just do a layer all the way down through here to provide a little bit of texture and a little bit of extra coloring. Apologies, I accidentally added one too many of these gray local metal smoke boxes. Let's work on the pilot. We're going to take one piece of chiseled deep slate and place that on the front of the first bogie. Take a deep slate brick stair and place it upside down, along with a copycat stair, placing that upside down as well. We're now going to grab the gray slashed local metal, fill in our copycat stairs, and we're going to grab a hold of just one regular piece of gray slash local metal and place that in right there. We'll grab a metal pilot, place that on the front, and an industrial iron catwalk railing along there. We'll reach into our bag, grab a hold of the wrench, and just right click the top of the the railing in order to be able to rotate that railing forward. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to place down a couple of temporary blocks with some copycat half panels on the front of those. Going behind those half panels, we're going to place more half panels and remove the ones that we just placed a minute ago. So that way you have your half panels on the same row as the catwalk railing. Keeping up with the half panels, we're going to place 2 on either side of the pilot. And fill those in with the gray / locomotive. Grab yourself an industrial iron support and place those on the front to fill in the rest of the pilot. Just give it something, a little bit of detailing and everything. Sometimes details make things pop, and it's really cool to do that. We'll place a set of industrial iron catwalk stairs on either side of that back of the pilot. And then place some railings on those stairs. The next thing we'll do is we're going to grab a piece of chiseled deep slate and place those off of either side of the front of our locomotive. On top of that, place some deep slate brick slabs. We're going to re-grab our gray locomotive smoke box, place 2 right there, a copycat step, and then we'll fill that in with industrial iron. Now I know it says industrial plating on my screen. There's just a couple of different mods in this mod pack that we're using that identify industrial iron in different ways. So industrial iron or industrial plating is perfectly fine here. Let's build some pistons. What we're going to do is we're going to place down a temporary smoke box and then place the smoke box off of that so that way it's facing forward. Come back here, delete that smoke box, and place one just behind it like so. Take 2 copycat slabs and fill them with the gray smoke box. Next, we're going to place a chute on the top of the smoke box like so, and then place a diagonal girder facing in towards what will be the boiler. One thing that you can do, just another extra slice of detail, is you can replace that piece with a chute, and it will look like it's piping directly into the boiler. Our next step that we're going to be doing is we're going to be making the rest of our piston. We're going to take a piece of the steel scaffolding, dig a little bit underneath that area, and we want to grab a copycat layer, go directly underneath that steel scaffolding, and right click to make the legs descend downward. We're going to grab just a piece of gray local metal so that it matches up with the rest of the color. You can choose to use whatever color you like here. Gray is just the color that we chose. You can use light gray as well. That would probably look just as fine. As you go, remember to fill back in any holes. A clean workspace is a happy workspace. The next thing that we'll do is we're going to place an upside down deep slate brick stair above the valve gear that we just created. Off of that, we're going to place 3 shafts and a bracket to connect those shafts to the bottom of the boiler. From here, we want to place 3 upside down deep slate brick slab stairs right there. We'll grab a girder. Oops. We will grab a girder, place those two. You know what? Let's place a temporary block and then run 2 girders off of that temporary block. And then place any 2 blocks in front of those girders to give this effect right here so that they pop out. And then from there, we're going to grab a hold of an empty basin. Place that empty basin like so. And run 2 shafts in a bracket on the end of that shaft. Oh, no. Sorry about that. Bracket right there. And then 2 shafts and a piece of steel girder again. But we want it to look like it does up here. So we're going to place a temporary block and make it look like that. Perfect. For our next step, we're going to place down 3 pieces of industrial iron, 3 stone buttons on top of those, chiseled deep slate on top of that, and then run a copycat half panel across there. We'll grab that texture in just a minute. Off the bottom of this, we're going to place 1 chute. We're going to grab a hold of a shaft, place 2 shafts there, and we're going to grab a bracket, place that bracket right there. The reason being is that A, it's a design choice, and B, it's going to also provide some very helpful glue points when we go to glue the Polar Express later on. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to run a piece of steel girder off, give it our shaping that we did previously, and then once more place down 2 pieces of chiseled deep slate. Oh, you know what? Actually, I made a mistake. Our chiseled deep slate is going to go in the middle, and we'll place 2 deep slate slabs on either side there. From here, we're going to place down 1 more chiseled deep slate, and then polish deep slate stairs upside down behind or on either side of that. Our next step is going to be we're going to start to bring shape and life to the cab. I'm going to let Madden handle most of the details, but I'm going to put down a few basic details for him, so that way it's not such an empty cab when he gets the locomotive. We're going to place down 3 copycat panels with the industrial iron inside of it. We can grab a seat, place a seat down on either side. Behind that seat, we're going to place a copycat half panel with the gray Locomotive smoke box texture inside of it. We're going to empty our palette and let's build the walls of the locomotive cab. We'll start by grabbing a copycat half panel. This is the industrial iron sheet metal texture inside of it. It's going to give a nice little plating or wall plating to the side there. And then for our next step, we're going to grab a hold of a copycat panel, a copycat board, and a copycat half panel, as well as another copycat panel. So to start off, we're going to place down a copycat panel just like so, and you can use the seat to help you place it. If you accidentally just regularly right click the seat, you will be put inside of it. So what you want to do is you want to crouch and right click that seat. We're going to run a third off of there, one up there, and then we're going to create our window shaping. So what we want to do is we're going to place a couple of temporary blocks, and then just quickly come over here and fill in the rest of the cab, because I want to be able to do the whole cab before I repeat all of these steps on the other side. Inside of our cab, we're going to grab a hold of a copycat board, as well as the industrial iron window texture. We'll place a board down on top of our temporary blocks, and we're going to place the industrial iron window texture inside of those boards. What we will do next is we are going to place down a temporary piece of the gray locomotive pillar, and we are going to run that pillar into the front of the cab, so that we have the ability to place another copycat board if we wanted to for another window, or just to keep it there like that. Now, for this side here, what I'm going to do is just quickly place down these so that we can complete the cab. Now let's do a little bit of texturing. We'll place some stone buttons on those locomotive pillars. We're going to take another copycat panel and run it up along to form the basis for our roof. We can now remove our temporary blocks, and we're going to place a copycat half panel right here filled with industrial iron, so that way it gives the feeling of a smaller window. We will fill in these two boxes here with the gray iron wrapped locomotive. This one will be the industrial iron floor, and then a block of industrial plating. The next thing that we'll do is we're going to come into the cab and place down some temporary blocks just along the top here to be able to place our roof in just a moment. We'll fill these copycat panels in with deep slate, put some angry deep slate in our pieces that we save for later. We're going to place a temporary copycat panel just so. Panels along the sides of the roof. And then a level 2 layer. Level 3 layer. Let's do a level 3 layer on the roof there in the middle. And we'll fill those in with the deep slate bricks again. We can now remove our temporary blocks that we just placed. We'll add that one back really quickly so we can place our temporary panel. We'll place our real panels now, remove the temporaries, and fill those in with the dark oak window. Perfect. Again, we're going to leave the interior of the cab for Madden. He's just way better at doing cab interiors, so we're just going to leave that be for him and focus on finishing up the rest of the locomotive. At this point, repeat everything that we just did on this side here over onto this side here. Okay, now that we have the other side completed, we're going to extend this out by one more block, place another stone button. We're going to include an upside down deep slate brick stair right here, and run another one of those copycat half panels with the angry deep slate. Let's go ahead and put down our train hulls that we're going to be using. And we'll start by placing down a temporary block off that front step. Just running a bunch of train holes all the way to the back. And we gotta come in here. Walk down our little catwalk here. And there we go. We actually don't need to put one right there. As you can see, when Madden does the interior, there's not going to be any way to see it anyway, and it doesn't cut through pixel-wise on the backs of those pillars, so we're going to leave that space open for something else in the future. We'll remove our our temporary block, and then we're going to place our final train hull like so, and put a couple of copycat steps filled with industrial iron just off the side there. On the front of our locomotive, we'll place down the headlamp US from the Create Buffers and Beams Overhauled mod. And then we're going to grab a bell and place that on the front here in just a second. What we want to do is we're going to grab a hold of the copycat half slab, or half layer, I mean. And on the top here, we're going to place down 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just enough so that it hides the Z fighting. We've now created a full block that we can add that bell to. There's actually the peculiar bell that we can use instead. Just looks a little bit better there, now that I think about it. We will place down an oil burner smokestack, and we're going to turn it off for now just so that there's no smoke in our face the entire time. And then we're going to grab a hold of a copycat layer and just kind of start going nuts, placing layers down on the top of this locomotive. So right behind the smokestack, we're going to place a layer until the Z fighting stops. Behind that, we'll place a copycat layer. We're going to immediately put a hood inside of it, and the hood is from the kitchen hood from the mod Handcrafted. And we're going to raise that up ever so slightly. Just double check this. Oh, yeah. We'll fix that Z fighting problem in a minute. Essentially, pretty much all of these hulls are just here for show at the moment. I'm going to show you a way to build the locomotive and not have to use these hulls. Because as you can see, if we were to leave the Polar Express looking like this, it's kind of a shadow of what it could look like with this. Continuing with our layers, we're just going to bring up another one so that, just keep bringing them up so that they stop the Z fighting. And what I mean by Z fighting is when you look at it, the pixels are fighting on the Z axis inside of the two blocks here. That's what Z fighting means. So there we go, there's that. I believe then we have two, yep, we do. We have 3 full industrial iron blocks. No Z fighting. A little bit taller. A full block. Oh wait, you know what? These full blocks start here. And then that, yep, I'm missing no Z fighting layer right there. Perfect. We're gonna grab a hold of our industrial iron and just fill these in like so. We'll let Madden change the texturing and everything. You know what? Industrial we want the one that connects. So I've got a couple of them in here. Hold on. We want, there it is. Industrial plating from design and decor is actually what we want here. We can keep those as they are. We'll keep those as they are, and we'll keep those as they are. But these two up here, we want those to connect. And then we can just do that. Perfect. All right. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our copycat layer here, and we're going to start to create the side of the boiler. And what that means is that we're going to be protruding blocks off of the hull blocks that we've placed down. The reason being, we want our boiler to be just ever so slightly larger than what it is. And by doing that, it gets rid of the side of this hull, but it also gives the train a little bit more thickness, a little bit more size to it, if you will. So we're going to have these come out 4, 5, 6 to level 6 all the way down through. Perfect. And then just right here, we're going to have those pop out a little bit more. I think actually these are a full block. That's right. So we're going to go ahead and just place down a full block right here. So that way that pops out just ever so slightly more, just like this part here. We'll go ahead and grab ourselves the copycat step from before, and we're just going to place down a bunch of these steps all the way down through the top here. And remember, it's okay to make mistakes every once in a while. This is a really long tutorial. I wouldn't expect you to get it right 100% on your first try, and don't expect me to get it right on the first try either. It's going to take a lot of patience and determination to make your build look just like what you see in front of you. And that's what I'm here to help you with. Perfect. So what we did was we filled all of those in with the industrial iron plating, or industrial plating, whatever you want to call it. We're gonna let Madden do some texturing, but essentially what he's gonna end up doing is like this. And you know what, oh yeah, he did layers there, that's right. That's right, okay. Let me see here. Next thing we want to do is we're going to take our copycat half layers. We'll remove those pieces. We're going to bring these up just to about there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll fill these in with the industrial iron floor. And then we're going to remove these 3 back. I'm sorry, we're going to remove 2 back here. Let's make sure that it's the correct block. And we'll take our copycat half panels and run them up to just below those full blocks, filling them in with the industrial iron floor. What we're going to do now is I'm going to grab this industrial iron sheet metal, and I'm going to make it so that it faces that way, and just start running the sheet metal down through the side here. And then the locomotive is pretty well close to being done. We want to make a running board And to do that, I'm going to grab a copycat layer. And we're just going to start placing some copycat layers down along the sides. And we'll cap things off with some copycat slices. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, and that's as far as we can go. Okay. Let's grab some copycat slices. I don't remember what texture this is. Oh, it's the slash locometal. As is that. Okay. So let's fill these in really quick. Place those on there. Perfect. Oh, you know what? And we can actually... I do like that as well. We can actually run these down here to the railing. Excellent. And that's basically our locomotive. And I'll be right back after I have the other side complete. Let's start working on getting into the tender by placing down 2 girders. We're going to poke a shaft through this one. And then we're going to take our create wrench and right click the top and bottom so that it looks like it's sticking to the locomotive a little bit better. I'm going to take a just a shaft itself, and I want it to be facing like that, so I'm going to break that snow. Place that there, and place the shaft on just like that to create our coupler essentially. We'll run a deep slate slab off of that. 2 pieces of industrial iron. And then some ladders so that we can climb up. On top of that, we're going to grab a copycat step to help further step up into the cab of the locomotive. We'll place that step on either side. And then I'm going to grab a spruce trapdoor and run that like so. Let's continue on with the tender build. We're going to place 1 more deep slate brick slab and then a block of industrial iron. On top of that brick slab, we're going to place a barrel with another spruce trapdoor on top of that. From this industrial iron slab, we're going to start to create a little bit of a design on the bottom of the tender here. So this is where actually our first wheel is going to go. We're going to come into the triple weight wheel, and we're going to grab the heavyweight wheel, I believe. No, we'll do the medium 606 tender. Perfect. That's where that's going to be placed right there. We'll do another block of industrial iron plating. And essentially what we're doing is we're kind of making the brake gears for the tender itself. So we'll place another slab so that way you can't see that part from the bottom of the tender. A girder is going to go behind that. And then I believe it was a basin. Let me just double check here. Ah, yes. Industrial iron block. We're going to come back around to the back of the tender, run a slab, iron, a casing or another bogie, and then 2 more pieces of the industrial iron. We can run some deep slate slabs. We want that in there. Run some deep slate slabs all the way down the side here. And continue that on the other side. Perfect. On top of these, what we want to do is just run the deep slate or chiseled deep slate to act as a basis for the walls of the tender. and it's something for these copycat panels to stick onto. The Polar Express needs to look very elegant, but it also needs to have an interior water tender or water port, a way to hold water in the back of it. So what we're going to do now is we are going to create the water portion of the tender, and I'm just going to make a mark for myself so that I know where we're starting. So essentially what we want to do right here is from these blocks back. So if we count from the back of the tender, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks, and then come back 1 to the 6th, we're going to place another layer of the deep slate, the chiseled deep slate. Place a block of industrial iron on top of that basin, deep slate on top of that, and then 1 deep slate followed by 2 sets or 2 pieces of fluid for 3. You know what? We can do 4. Why not? Who cares? Like that. The back of our tender is just going to be 2 pieces of the chiseled deep slate. Perfect. The next thing that we're going to do is how am I going to want to do this? Because we eventually will be filling the interior with coal. I'm going to let Madden do that. So in the meantime, let's grab a copycat panel, and we're just going to place panels pretty much all over the sides of this water tender. Just an insane amount of these things. And I'll be right back when all of these are placed. But basically, we're going to come all the way over to here with our panels. Go up that far and down that far. And we'll be right back. Let's finish up the back of the tender, and what we're going to do is we're going to start by replacing these 2 blocks, or these 4 blocks like so, placing a 3rd chiseled deep slate in the middle there, and then I'm going to place a deep slate, simple deep slate pillar on the bottom side, a cut blank deep slate, and then a polished deep slate from the chipped mod, like that. Now what that's going to do is just kind of create a backside to the tender for us. And we can grab a valve as well as a ladder. Let's run our ladder down the side like that. Place a valve there. Grab a couple of copycat steps to act as some buffers of sorts. We're going to grab a knuckle coupler. Place that knuckle coupler on the back. Add some industrial iron to it. And then we're going to begin decorating the sides of our locomotive tender. So the bottom here is going to be the pillar, cut blank, polished. We'll repeat the other side, or repeat that for the other side in a minute through the magic of editing. But there's going to be a very specific pattern on the top now as well. All the way across here, we're using the blank deep slate carving until we get to this block here. At this block, we're going to just repeat that same pattern that we just did. On the side of the tender, what we want to do is we're going to fill in the spot where the words would go. So the Polar Express, for example, and then do polished deep slate on either side of that. On the bottom, we're just going to run across with our cut blank deep slate to complete a nice little design there for us. For the top of the tender, things are just slightly a little bit different. What we will do is we will just fill in the holes here with the chiseled deep slate, put in a few more tanks, cover those tanks with some panels, place layered deep slate on top of it, and then we're going to run a shaft along the side here. One more. Place a bracket here and here. We'll just do that one more time. Perfect. We're going to place down a layer of deep slate brick slabs, followed by just a layer of temporary blocks so we can leave that interior of the tender hollow for Madden for the coal. And then off of that step, we're going to place, or off of that stairs, we're going to place some steps. Perfect. To clarify, we actually want to place an stair on the top there, 4 of them to be exact, so that we have the ability to place an upside down stair. The best way to do this is by crouching and clicking, and then we'll place an upside down stair with a right side up stair, bringing those together with that. We'll fill these in with chiseled deep slate, and then we can run a series of copycat panels to fill in those gaps, like so. And we're gonna grab the polished deep slate to fill in those top gaps. We are nearly done. The next thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that to finish off the inside of our tender, what we want to do here is we want to place down the full blocks of what we actually have here on the side. So we're going to do a simple pillar, followed by the cut blank deep slate, and then the polished deep slate. And we don't actually have to have panels there, because it looks just ever so slightly a little bit better without those there. On the bottom here, we're going to place cut deep slate column. And then what we're going to do is place that cut deep slate column in our offhand and grab some copycat headstocks and just run some copycat headstocks all down through. Repeat all of that on the other side, and you are all done with your locomotive. Now comes the gluing. Gluing might seem difficult, but it can be and it can't be at the same time. We're going to place a couple of temporary blocks on the corners in order to be able to successfully connect corner to corner with the glue for the tender. Make sure that when you're gluing like this, you have something that connects. If you wanted to start here, you need to make sure you have a block that connects to what you're wanting to glue. So that's the tender completely glued. We were able to just get that in one giant piece. Because that's only 2 bogies, we're able to do that. The locomotive, however, is going to be a little bit different. Essentially, what we want to do is first and foremost make sure that all of the glue from any previous gluings is removed. Sometimes your area may have glue sitting there that you weren't aware of. Just make sure that you've cleared out any excess glue. But what we want to do is we want to isolate the front bogie and the back bogie. By isolation, I mean the block that is on the front of this bogie, so that there's a block there and there's a block there. Those need to not be glued to any other part of the locomotive for the back bogie, as well as the front bogie. So now our bogies are here and here. Everything else can be glued to the center or the rest of the body, and the rest of the body is going to be glued to this bogie right here in order to make sure that the front and the back wheels swing while the center wheels stay solid to the bogie itself. So I'm going to start by just experimenting with the glue, seeing how things go. And looks like I actually forgot to place some copycat slices here. So let's just connect those, and I'm sure I forgot them here. No, I did not. Alright, we will grab our glue. And from this front stair, I'm going to come back to that slice. So you see how no glue went into the middle? I'm going to do that again. That stair. To that slice. Then I'm going to get the front pilot. And I'm going to put the front pilot to right here, and we'll just repeat that so that way we cover all of those and we get this front fence, but we're still not glued to that block right there, which is directly in front of the first bogie. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go from, just see here. Let's go from here. To here. And that's going to begin that grabbing all of that stuff onto the center of the locomotive. And then I'm going to grab from here. To here. Coming back up to the top here, I'm going to start from that block. Come down to this right here so that we capture all of these items in the cab. And we'll just do the same thing like so. I'm going to start from this button. And come over here to that steel girder so that those pieces are connected. Connect those three pieces and then connect that up to the button. grab the side of the cab like that. Glue those pieces together. That together like that. We need to bridge the gap here inside the cab, like so. And then for the front of our locomotive, we're going to grab from here to there, from here to there, and I'm just kind of walking through, making sure that everything is connected. See, we're missing some glue here. We might as well just connect all of that up like that. Glue these three together. Those like that. There we go. Just give a quick fly through. We are missing front of the locomotive being put together with glue there. And then let's just give this a test. I should be able to come over here and assemble the train. So what we're doing with this initial test is we're just going to see if any pieces stay behind, which they most certainly do. And that's good, because that will actually tell you, let's pull all the way forward so I can illustrate this. That will actually tell you what you missed with your initial glue pass through. And what I usually like to do, because these pieces aren't actually glued to the locomotive, is we're going to just go like that to glue those together. These we can just glue when we put it back together. But these pieces, however, we're going to get rid of these errant glue boxes. I'm going to run a bead of glue like this, and like that, so that those are all at least all stuck together. I'll do the same thing with the roof. And you know what? Let's go ahead and just do the same thing here. And then I'm going to hop back in the cab of the locomotive. I'm going to drive it back into the station. Perfect. Let's come out here, place it back into build mode. And on this side over here, we now see that there is a box, but it is not connected to any other part of the train. So we're just going to run a piece of glue right there to connect that to the train. Same goes for this. We now see that that's a box that's not connected to the train. So now it's connected to the train. Inside of the locomotive itself, somewhere about here-ish, we have a piece of the train, a piece of the locomotive that is not fully connected with the rest. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a tack of glue here and run that up to here. That should have captured it. Let's take a look. And there we go. Gluing is just trial and error. It is a lot easier than you think. And then when you turn and everything, see how the back wheels, this isn't the best curve to demonstrate this, but the back wheels kind of turn independently of their own. Just get out here so I can show you. The back wheels turn independently of their own. The front wheels turn independently of their own. So there we go. That concludes my portion here of the build for the Polar Express. I'm going to turn things back over to Madden. And, you know, let's go catch this bus before it leaves. We've got to go into town and get a few supplies. Thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. I appreciate you. And I'm going to take this bus here into town and maybe go watch a Christmas movie at my house over here. I'll catch you later. Bye.